Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. They were playing e4 as per usual. My opponent responds with, they go for a Sicilian defense, so of course we're going to go for the Mengarini here with a3, hoping maybe to get to SA some b4 ideas. Thank you very much. Okay, that's marginally concerning because they pre-moved that. That means they're most likely familiar with this whole Mengarini setup. c3, knight c6, we will play d4, and we will absolutely be looking to claim the full center. They play d5, we are then able to take, they will take with the queen, and after knight to a3, the most venomous, but subtly venomous move in my entire repertoire probably. I'm going to guess, based on the confidence and speed with which my opponent seems to be playing, that we're going to see queen to a5, which is very uncommon in the database, but in fact, by far the best move. Basically everything else, you know, a natural knight f6, e6, e5, these moves all cause major problems, although at this point my opponent begins to hesitate. So maybe we won't see queen a5, because if they're not playing it immediately, it's not the kind of move which you naturally find over the board. I mean, if we look at this from the black perspective, you know, queen a5, what, after bishop d2, you're just about to get hit with multiple discoveries, with a rook, also with the bishop, the pawn can be pushed. It really doesn't feel like a particularly natural move to play unless you're familiar, and of course, they don't. Now we hop into b5. The reason that knight a3 is so venomous is that it's simply a conduit through which to access b5. The c pawn is on c3, so clearly we can't go that way. However, a3, with regards to the speed with which we can access b5, is identical, and so we hop into b5 immediately. Now, we were threatening this fork. They step back to solve that problem. You might think, you know, bishop f4, I mean, that seems very strong, right? First, we want to play d5. The idea being that, yes, we just hang this pawn. Of course, if queen takes, we can still go for this. So, you know, they have to play pawn takes, or I guess just move the knight, but that doesn't seem to make any sense. Almost certainly we'll see them take. Now when we play bishop f4, they don't have the move e5 to prevent this from being a problem, to, you know, sacrifice the pawn perhaps. I don't know if it's technically a sack in that line. We can worry about that afterwards, but they don't have the move e5 to slow down our threat on c7 here. And so we've actually sacrificed 2 pawns so far, but we just have this major threat on c7. If you play bishop d6, of course, we can just take that. There is now a way to escape this for black, at least immediately. We've got a great position, by the way. I'm pretty sure we're objectively winning. They do find it. Queen e7, giving the check such that after I block, they can then bring the knight to e5. They use the openness of my king as tempo to let the queen defend the e5 square. Now, you'd be very surprised if they didn't go knight e5. Nice. But here, I'm just going to play knight f3. And if you take, yes, I can't take with the bishop, so, okay, I mean, I'd have to take with the g-pawn. That kind of looks terrible pawn structurally speaking. I'm left with 4 pawns, all of them isolated, 2 of them doubled. I don't know, that kind of feels a bit dumb. But if you take here, you've lost this whole defense of the knight c7 threat. So instead they play f6. Okay, now's where we get very interesting, because I'm pretty sure everything up until this point was preparation for me, unless I've got confused with some other line, but it looks very familiar and I was very confident about my moves and they seem to have made sense. So it would seem like castling makes a whole lot of sense. Them having to play queen e7, getting in the way of their own bishop being able to move, and also having to play f6 here to stabilize this. I mean, both of these moves render the minor pieces here, their natural development is completely ruined. You'd also probably rather not push this pawn to do this, because you're just pushing loads of pawns where you're going to end up castled most likely. So we've got very slow development of these minor pieces. I would imagine that if we just get out the center, we can castle. My king is beautifully safe. g5 would be interesting. I think that would probably lose to like knight takes and some bishop h5 nonsense, but it would be interesting. But the point is here, like, what are you doing? Your king's in the center, and it's going to be for a while. The quickest you could possibly castle is 1, 2, 3, 4 moves away. And if in that time you think I'm not going to make the most of this open e-file where your king and queen reside with some kind of rook e1 and a bishop move maybe, you're having a laugh. So despite being down 2 pawns, our king safety is immensely greater. Our development is even more immensely greater. Also, you can't kick this knight. The open a-file, that sort of aspect of the Mengarini, means that this knight is indelible on the b5 square. Good word, added to vocabulary. They do go for g5. Now, I was thinking, surely this diagonal is very soft right now, and I get to take this. I could also take this. That would be kind of interesting, because then what? You take here, and then I get to give a check, and maybe this is also soft, and we get rook e1 quickly. Okay, I can almost guarantee the evaluation here. We'll check in the analysis. Hopefully I remember. Move 14. I'm going to say +8, something like that. An absolute stab in the dark. I'm just saying we're completely winning. I'd imagine there are a bunch of things I could do. I'd imagine taking here or taking here probably make a lot of sense, or maybe just taking like this. Nah, no way. I want to be able to threaten this. So I take here. If you take my bishop, then I go check. You go here and I get to go check. Yeah, that looks really strong. Knight takes here, pawn takes. It just feels like destabilizing this kind of makes some sense as well. And if here and you take like this, and then I go check, and you go here, then what? What's the move there? Oh wait, hold on, this pawn's gonna hang. Yeah, I think the game's effectively over already, to be completely honest. We're gonna take this knight here. Bishop h5 is now opened up. Should you take the bishop? I mean, you're gonna leave this knight potentially infiltrating. so they take the knight, but now bishop h5, this, or I guess this, is going to run into maybe queen takes d5, and then I'm going to be able to take on e5. Oh my lord, it's falling apart. It's not only falling apart, it's probably just going to be forced checkmate, to be honest. I'd imagine our opponent could very, very easily resign here. It's completely feasible that my opponent decides to to call it a day in this position. Now, I guess taking here is kind of undebatably a fantastic idea. We're going to open up that, yeah, I mean, where's your king going? You're blocking the bishop. I'm impressed that they're fighting on, to be completely honest, because now I get to just take here. I could win a rook probably, although bishop g7, I guess. But also, this is looking very dire. I think we do just take here. And I'm also thinking that, you know, the rook coming in here, knight f6 is interesting. Is there some forced mate? Because technically, I'm not actually up any material here. What I do have is a very easy takes, and then probably just bishop g4. You have to then come back and defend this with the queen, and then I can play rook here. We're going to win this bishop. It's pinned. You're not going anywhere. It does feel like it's worth thinking about bishop c7. Only legal move here. You'd imagine there's some infiltration somewhere. I could also probably grab this, but then you can maybe take here. Man, it feels like there should be some really cool way to do this, but I think probably taking this knight, then playing bishop g4 is going to be the strongest idea. Then, you know, queen e7, rook fd1. I do like that. I'm just, oh man, it just feels like there could be something really cool, but I don't want to lose the bishop. Okay, I'm going to grab this. They're going to take. Then I'm going to play bishop g4. The complete and utter inactivity of these rooks. I mean, I bet you wish you didn't have this h-pawn right now. And, you know, rook h7 might be possible. However, unfortunately, this is pinned. It's attacked twice. You've got one way to defend it. I mean, I guess, you know, queen g7, but you can defend it with one piece is the point. The dark squared bishop, blind to the suffering of the light squared bishop, and they play queen. Oh, didn't think about that. I mean, it doesn't matter, of course, because I can go here, but I'd rather not trade the queens. Yeah, okay, I will play this, I guess. It's probably necessary. Yeah, we'll go for this rook d1, and now, I mean, if you trade the queens, again, it's pinned, it's attacked, and neither rook can do anything about that. The dark squared bishop, as I said, is clearly also incapable. And so at this point, we are just winning that piece in the center and probably begin bullying that king, or my opponent resigns. Come on, come on. Oh, my lord. Oh, my lord, that is a perfect game of chess. 0 inaccuracies, 0 mistakes, 0 blunders, 98% accuracy. And I'd imagine the only reason it's not 100 is because, of course, we played this Mengarini variation, b4 here, being slightly inaccurate, but a book move. So an absolutely flawless game, over 21 moves. It looks like there was a small fluctuation here where maybe I had something more accurate. We'll have a little look. So, of course, I open with e4, c5, a3, and then, you know, this b4 Mengarini takes, c3, the knight goes back, and d4. This is a gorgeous position. Opponents can go for stuff like e6. In fact, if I open the database and have a little look here, d5 is by far the most common move. Also, by far the, you know, worst performing move overall. And it's the best move. That's kind of what you want in an opening. A move that is objectively the best and performs the worst, and is played the most common. Those three things make an opening extremely attractive to play. Then e6, d6, etc. If they play kind of any of these moves, you've got a lovely open a file. You've got a great center. You can play bishop d3. You can play knight f3, everything's looking well. However, if d5 takes, then, I mean, I assumed my opponent after knight a3 was going to go for, as the engine is signifying, this best move of queen a5. However, again, if we look at the database, e5, knight f6, and e6, those moves which I highlighted, what is that, 69% of the time played? And if you have a little look down here, oh yeah, queen a5, 1% of the time. Opponent goes for e6. This is a mistake because knight b5, the queen goes back. We then play the exceedingly accurate d5. And you see the win rates here just become obscene for white. I wonder how many times I've had this if I go into my own database. I've had this 7 times and managed to lose precisely once. When did I lose this? In October of 2023. Christ, what a letdown. Maybe I flagged, who knows. I don't want to click on the game just in case it is really embarrassing. They take, we play bishop f4. Ooh! Now, this is something that I haven't seen before. I was under the impression that queen e7 and knight e5 was actually the best approach. I may be a fool. I may be a complete fool. I guess I was under the wrong impression. Bishop c5 is actually significantly better with a 1.8 evaluation. However, it is very difficult to just let me come in here with knight c7. Okay, and then the line I've just looked at, by the way, the reason I don't toggle the engine on while I'm still sort of talking, the reason I cut between, is because having the engine on lags out the video immensely. So often I'll sort of do a little look and then recount it to you guys. I just want to make it explicitly clear I'm not pretending to have come up with this line myself. But the point is that after king f8 takes, g5 is there the move. So, okay, black, and also, by the way, if I very quickly toggle the engine on, we're still very winning. Bishop e3, and, you know, we're definitely doing well. However, clearly if you know this, you wouldn't have got to this position in the first place. You're not going to have prep into a position where you've already blundered, or at least made a mistake with e6 previously. So I highly doubt I'm going to see this very often. In fact, the far more reasonable move of queen e7, bishop e2, and then bringing the knight here to not allow the fork, of course, Perfect play. Knight to f3. We then castle, get ourselves out here, and then, yeah, of course, g5 was not a very resilient try. However, the evaluation here... Oh, wait, hold on. What was my guess? Was it move 14 I said? I said plus 8, did I? I think I said plus 8. Hold on. If I turn on the engine, is it going to... There we go. Whoa, even more. Okay, so it's more like plus 10 or whatever. Point is exceedingly winning. The best move is to take this knight, although that fluctuation made it seem like it wasn't. However, you just need to let the engine catch up. There we go. And after they recapture, give the check, king across, take this. I mean, there's nothing really more to be said. This was a perfect game of chess. Bishop takes here, knight here, bang, bang, bishop g4. Although ostensibly rook ad1 would have been slightly more accurate, which... Okay. I feel like this was more of a move order thing. If we let this run for a bit. Ah, here they had bishop d6, which is interesting. I mean, no, it's actually not remotely interesting. What am I talking about? Like, I just take this. It's just a way to kind of postpone checkmate. Because if knight takes and you pick this bishop up, which, you know, you might be thinking is the idea, of course, I just get knight e4 and my opponent's just dead. So bishop g4 was excellent. And then, of course, bring the rook in. And at this point, my opponent resigned. Had they taken the queen, we'd go here. I mean, maybe they even do this, but no one cares. Because once you move... Oh, that would have been nice. That would have been a nice way to end it. However, that was a perfect game of chess. With a gorgeous 13 moves of Mengarini prep. This is one of my favourite openings. I wish it hadn't had a name so I could put my own name to it in a hubristic move that would shock the chess world for years to come. What am I talking about? Hopefully I get a big enough YouTube audience that I can just start calling it the WTC variation, robbing anyone who's ever played it of any credit and stealing it for my own because, I mean, the performances I put up with this Mengarini are absolutely wonderful. Thank you guys so much for watching. Obviously a shorter video today. My apologies for that, but you know, blame my opponent. They weren't able to survive long enough to make it past mid-roll ads. Hopefully they were actually. I need them mid-roll ads. But thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.